And so the last thing is student loans. This is the fun one. We just talk about student loans as a debt. Okay, so student loans as a debt, it's the one where most people have, and no matter how much it is, everyone knows exactly how you got that much. You just made literally one decision,
Yeah.
and then that's it's not like credit cards. You got to keep swiping. Nope, you got 250K in student loan debt. Yep, 17-year-old you just made one decision, and that's it, right? And now you're making 40K a year with your history art degree from a private school, and you got 4 or 5 times the student loan debt.
Not the history art degree.
Well, and that's the thing. So if I will, since I listed them all when it comes to paying off the debt, again, we both did and recommend the debt snowball. So you're paying them off lowest balance to highest balance, regardless of interest rate. For those of you who want to do the interest rate, that would be that avalanche. By all means, pick one. But at the end of the day, you have to do the same budget. So again, your income minus alcohol equals left over. If you want to get out of debt as fast as possible, you are stripping your outgo or your expenses literally down to necessities and your debt payments. That's all you should be paying for if you want to get out of debt as fast as possible.
Exactly. So necessities being that financial house that we talked about. So.
Yes. And you can, if y'all want to add stuff to the house, by all means, go ahead. But that's pretty much all the necessities that you think of.
Ultimately, should be the bare bones of what you need to survive.
Yeah,
right?
a lot of sacrifices, decreasing your lifestyle.
Yeah.
And so for student loans, or just in general, when it comes to paying off debt and big debt like student loans, the debt snowball will put you in a position where, let's say your student loans are 4 out of 5. So let's say it's 5 out of 5. So it was the last one for both of us.
Gotcha.
It wasn't for me. I just lied. My car was. Regardless, when you do the debt snowball, as I said, let's say you pay off a loan that had a $100 minimum payment, and let's say your snowball or your debt snowball is $500. So you're putting $500 towards debt, and then when you pay off your debt payment that is $100, you now have a $600 snowball, and you roll that $600 over to the next loan. Let's say that one's $200, and you pay that off. Now you got $800, and you keep going down the process. When you get to your student loan, you want to have as much snowball, or your biggest loan, whatever it is, as much snowball as possible.
It's like building a snowman, guys. You got to build the base of the snowman. You got to roll it around in a circle a couple times before it gets to the size that you want. That's what we're doing before we hit that student loan payment.
Exactly. And then for the student loans, is the forgiveness. So we mentioned the last time, Joe, I think I said it, Joe said he thinks he can forgive 10K but not 50K. So he should just forgive the 10K and then argue with Congress from a bipartisan standpoint about the extra 40K. But he hasn't done that. So that's what I call, again, a scam. It's probably not going to happen.
Yeah.
Now, again, student loans are due October, whatever your monthly payment date is, due in October. So you have the moratorium until September 30th. So no interest. No fees for not making the minimum payment. You don't have to make the minimum payment at all. Those are all 3 different things. No interest, no type of penalty for not making the minimum payment, and again, you don't have to make the minimum payment at all. From my standpoint, that is the forgiveness. That is going to be almost 16 months of that, where they pretty much, from my standpoint, that's what I have. I don't owe a minimum payment,
right?
And since I don't send them money, I don't get charged a fee, and there's no interest accruing. That's what you get when you pay off a loan.
Yeah.
So I would say that's pretty much what the forgiveness is probably going to be. And Joe is focusing towards COVID relief, obviously, and the infrastructure program, which is where your trillions of dollars is going for your student loan debt, by the way, and your tax money. So when it comes to the student loan situation, from saying pay off student loans, but you're holding out for the forgiveness.
Yeah.
It depends on how much student loan debt you have. For those of you, this is a hard range. It really depends on your income. It really depends more so on your income. So let me take a big step back. When it comes to paying off debt, the numbers for how long it's going to take you to get out of debt relative to your income, I'm talking about pre-tax income, it's roughly 30, well, technically it's 75%. It's going to take you 2 years to get out of debt. So if you have 100K pre-tax income and you have 75K in debt, that's going to take you about 2 years to pay off. And so half of 75 is like 37 and a half. So it's going to be about 38% of your pre-tax income is going to equal a year of you paying off your debt. So for those of you, like I said, who are in that unfortunate situation of having 3, 4, 5 times your income and debt in total, which is probably mainly student loan debt, right? You got the 40, 50K job, and then you got the private school degree, so you got 200K in debt.
Right.
I don't know what to tell y'all, which is what is usually my last resort. This is like me playing my last cards. You have to make more money.
Yes.
If your debt, non-mortgage debt, your consumer debt is 3, 4, 5 times what you make, you have to make more money. And when it comes to student loans, it's such a long path of paying off hundreds of $1,000s in debt, that's when we go back to the first thing I recommend: your team.
Yeah.
You have to have a team in place. Then second thing, your mental makeup.
There you go. Lock in. Here we go.
Right. Let's say I don't just be throwing stuff out, right? So there are things that precede just paying off your debt and getting on a budget so you can put yourself in a position to execute the plan as efficiently and as quickly as possible.
Yes.
Right. And then so when it comes to paying off student loan debt, like I said, the forgiveness, right? As of now, it's set up to where you have to pay taxes on anything that's forgiven.
Gotcha.
But let's say you don't have $10,000, right?
Right.
And by the way, the taxes is anything that's forgiven gets taxed as ordinary income. So let's say you have $200,000 in student loan debt and you want it all to be forgiven.
Gotcha.
And you make $50K a year. Well, they forgive $200,000. You have to claim that all as taxable income. And now with your $50K, your taxable income is $250,000. So if you're single, that's going to put you in the 24% tax bracket. So let's just say 20% for easy math, right? So 20% of the $200,000 is going to be $40,000. Do you have $40,000 for your tax bill? Because that's going to be due when you file your taxes next year if they forgive it. Do you have $40,000? How do you have $40,000 if you only make $50K pre-tax?
Let's see, $40,000 is less than $200,000.
It is, but now what do you owe? A tax bill.
Yeah.
Which is not so now, but wait. So would you rather owe tax debt or would you rather owe student loan debt? Because remember, you owe tax debt, you got more fees and more penalties and more power. Because now they can most people, they just do forbearance and deferment. You can't do that on taxes. Gotcha. They will freeze your account and garnish your wages. That is rarely the case when it comes to student loans. Okay. So now, are you in a worse position, better position? This is the information I tried, like when I was talking about student loans, and why I'm so serious on it.
Right.
Because it will, if they don't forgive all the student loans and just say you don't owe us nothing.
Right.
More people are going to be in a worse situation than the better one if they conduct themselves from you have to claim it as your ordinary income as they are now. They might wipe it out. I don't know. Like I said, this stuff is always subject to change.
Just based off the explanation, you would technically owe less money, but to
the wrong person.
Yeah,
the wrong person.
Exactly. To the wrong person with more serious penalties. Right?
You would. I mean, this is hard to say, but you probably rather owe 200. I mean, it's still the government.
Right.
But you rather owe $200K in student loan debt than $40,000 in taxes. Now, you would think if they create the situation, they would provide some type of different stipulation. Right. But again, faith in the government. That's all on y'all. I don't. I don't recommend it. And so, yeah, when it comes to that situation, the thing about the government will or will not provide some type of forgiveness. Again, I would think just based off of the political climate, I would not be surprised if some type of forgiveness happens where they actually forgive a certain dollar amount. But when?
Fingers crossed. Look.
Yeah, I mean,
they got till October to figure it out, right?
No, I'm banking on right now there won't be any type of forgiveness by October, and them student loans going to be due. And just like all the other moratoriums, like the rent and mortgage that are coming up, some people are going to get hit hard. But I wouldn't be surprised if at some point in time they do some type of forgiveness. That's just what the Dems are, priding themselves off from a voting standpoint for Zennials and Millennials.
So we said all that to say, if you have the ability to save and they don't forgive anything, you got to be prepared to make that payment to get on that student loan. So don't waste that payment if you got it. Right. Stick it in an account somewhere. October's coming right around the corner. It's gonna come faster than you think.
Exactly. And again, 2 years. You can get out of all of it in 2 years. You have the federal student loan forgiveness program, which is 10 years. So you want that 8 years back on your life or not. And then when you're talking about doing the math of investing the difference as far as how paying over what you can invest and getting the insurance, most people can't calculate that delta.
Gotcha.
Can't calculate. That's too much to calculate. You have to calculate how much interest it would cost to pay off the loan in 10 years, and what you get forgiven, then your tax bill.
Yeah.
Right. Then on top of that, you gotta calculate what your interest would be when you actually invest. Then you have to calculate paying off your debt in 2 years and then investing for 8 years, and you're just like,
you just broke down 4 different equations like that.
Again, when I talk about most people don't have the competency, most people are not good enough at math to do just the way I said it. Like most, and that, look, now I'm being disrespectful, but most people aren't gonna run all those type of equations. But now don't ask me because I'm probably not gonna do it for you. That's one of the services for a certain fee I'll obviously do it. Yeah, everybody has their own price, but no, that's just, it's too much work. And then when I talk about time,
just know we're charging for the comparison.
Right. Okay? Yeah, but when I talk about time, that's saying if you can get on 2 years, the 8 years is worth it. Now a lot of people are listening, especially as you know, we're almost 30. We're not almost 30. We got 2 more years. But
give me my time. Right. Respecting my 2 years.
But if people have been, let's say we graduated, it'll be 6 years for us, and you've been paying for 6 years. And by the way, it's actually not 6 years. It's 120 qualifying payments.
Yes. Which
is different. So let's say you made 60 payments, right? No, that's 72 payments. Excuse me, qualifying payments. It's like, if it's closer to 3 years, do you risk it, right? Do you get out? And that's again where you actually truly need to sit down with someone. You can reach out to me and actually run the numbers and see, where you're at and the possibility of getting out debt faster and what truly is likely, going to happen from a political standpoint, which I don't think it is.
You don't think we got at least 10?
Okay, all right, we're back. We're going to finish up. So this is right at the end, so I can give my spiel on how Cory Covington, can fix them. literally me. I was thinking I would make the joke. I said we should run for president and vice president, but we can't because we're not old enough. We're literally not. You gotta be 35. I don't think you gotta be 35 for vice president. You have to be 35 to run for president. Gotcha. I made that joke at work and they laughed it off. It's like, nah, like I would, but I'm literally not old enough to run for it. But so here's the student loan forgiveness.
Okay.
Right? Because the right conservatives are they're not trying to do it at all, right? So this become a bipartisan, there has to be some type of give in it. So there's a situation that I'm in. I've already paid off my student loans. Okay. And I made it very, very clear. If they're doing some type of forgiveness, I need my money back. That's a semi joke, but real talk, like
run the check.
Yeah. But then that's the one meme where they got people on a train track and they've already ran over somebody. And it's like, do you get these other people up? And I'm like, I got myself up, so they better get themselves up before the train come. But the train already hit you though. That's the one thing. Like the train's already run you over in that situation. But for the people who have paid off their student loan debt already, right? It's like, no, we don't want any forgiveness. Some of them, because if we're not going to get nothing back, right? That's not quote unquote fair. Like the word fair to us. But for me, the main issue is that most student loans, not most, but a good amount of people are in a negative AM. And negative AM stands for amortization. So back in the debt, you usually see an amortization schedule when you're paying off a mortgage.
What's the word?
AM. Hey, I can type it better than I can spell it.
Got you.
Anyway, so that's going to show you how long it's going to take for you to pay off the loan, and then how much interest you're going to pay and where you're going to be at in each year. And since it's an amortization schedule, right? Since negative's not in front of it, it's implied that it's positive, right? So you're going to be paying it off. A negative AM loan, instead of showing you the schedule for you to pay it off, right? The opposite would be the schedule of you not paying it off. So if you're in a negative AM loan, that means that your minimum payment doesn't satisfy the interest that accrues. So let's say, again, another example, you got $100K in student loan debt and you owe, your interest rate is 7.2, your APR. So A being annual, right? And then annual is the same thing in yearly when it comes to finance terms. So you owe 7.2 in interest rate. You divide that by 12, right? Annual, yearly divided by 12 months in a year. 7.2 divided by 12 is 6, right? 6 goes in 72 12 times.
Correct.
So now your monthly interest rate, how much you get charged, is 6%. So 6% of $100,000 is $600. If your minimum payment is less than $600, you are in a negative AM loan. So let's say your minimum payment is $500, right? And this goes to people saying, I've been paying my student loans for 5-10 years and my balance has relatively gone down, if not gone up. Right? So let's say you got 6% monthly interest rate, and 0.06%. You got 7.2 yearly, and then divided by 12 is 600%. That's $600. You got a $500 minimum payment, right? So when you pay a loan, the interest always gets satisfied first with your payment. So you give them the $500, and that goes towards the interest, which is $600. And now you technically owe $100 left in interest, right? And that $100 gets added to your principal amount, which is your $100,000. And now you owe $100,100 in February, right? And then another 600% gets charged again. And since the number's gone up, it's going to keep going up. And the crazy thing about loans is when we talk about investing in compound interest, it works the same way. So loans accrue compound interest. So just how you're talking about investments and how you can make so much money, that's the issue with student loans. People are gaining compound interest, but the wrong way. That's how you get hundreds of thousands of dollars in interest accrued and let over people have to pay.
Wow.
When you see somebody who has more interest accrued than what they graduate with, it's like, yeah, that's compound interest. It's neither good nor bad. It just depends. It's working for the bank now, technically the government.
Compound interest in debt. Guys.
Right. And so people need to get out of that situation, right? They need to get out of negative AM. So how do we do that? We can either A, end interest, or B, increase the term length, which I talk about mortgages, which will decrease your minimum payment. Like I said, getting rid of the interest. Because what really people have an issue with is they don't have the money in their budget or the cash flow, discretionary income.
Gotcha.
So what I would do is I would end interest. Well, first, you got to stop making them.
Right.
That should have already been passed. Well, we got to stop making the loans. Second, not only would I end the interest, I would make it so that, let's say you owe $100,000, you graduated with $100,000, right? And you've paid $50,000, right? But the way the interest works, you still owe $70K, right? You paid $50K, but you still for some reason owe $70K, and you're obviously not going to owe just $50K after that because you got the natural interest. Right. But let's say you clearly your loan should be less than what it is. Well, what I would do is, hey, if you graduated with $100K and you gave us $50K, you now owe $50K in student loan debt because you're going to pay what you graduated with and nothing more. And that gives people forgiveness because let's say you paid $120K, right? You graduated with 100, right? But you still have student loan debt. Well, now you're in a situation where you paid 100, right? You paid your loan off.
Gotcha.
But where's my $20,000 at? Oh, no. Remember at the beginning, for the people who already paid off their student loan debt, and you saying they shouldn't get no money and get you off the train tracks? Now you're in that situation. You just have no student loan debt now. You don't get your 20K back because already people paid off student loan debt, and they don't get their money back.
So you pay the initial loan if you've already paid it, then you're good to go. But you just don't get a refund.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. But again, now there are going to be some people. This is where accountability comes into play. Making use of the forbearance and the deferment, and you have 6 figures in student loan debt, and now you have, let's say you graduated with 100, now you got 150, and you only paid 10K. Well, now you owe 90K.
Oh wow!
I just forgave that 50K in interest, and you're like, well, no, I still owe 90. Well, you graduated with 100, and you only paid 10.
Gotcha.
So that's why you owe 90.
Okay.
And that's it. No interest rate, right?
He's like, I can live with that.
Right, and that's the happy medium. Something if you want something done versus all or nothing. Something like 10K, that's better than nothing. But for the people who have $100,000 in debt, that's not gonna do nothing for them. Especially if they're still in a negative AM loan.
Right.
Nothing changes. So, if you've been making use of deferment, for mind you, this is not going to happen. I'm just shooting off at the jaw right now, but it's a great plan.
I mean,
it helps because it provides forgiveness, because that's what the conservatives, Republicans want to do. They don't want to foot that tax bill, right? But it's like you got to give them something, because technically student loans are predatory loans because you gave a whole bunch of technically minors at the time, tens of thousands, $100,000 in debt,
right?
And so that's the issue with that.